then I accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend. I mean, just the title in itself, I feel like you should know exactly what you're about to get into.
I feel like I've been making readers cry for a very long time. So like let's make them laugh a little bit.
The second I saw the title Booty Juice, I just knew it. I just knew that the protagonist was going to be so likable.
And now I have people running up to me at events screaming out booty juice. You're the booty juice author. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what I signed up for.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Con Culture Podcast. We are here with award-winning author Jessica Cage. Say hi to everybody, Jessica.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being a part of this super special episode. So this is our very first episode where we are interviewing an author.
Very first ever on the podcast. So we're so excited.
We are very excited. Krista and I are both book girlies ourselves. We love a good novel, whether it like from all genres. We love it. So whenever we got the email asking if we would like to have you on the show, we were like, yes, absolutely, yes. What do we have to do? When 100%. Can we get her on?
Oh my God, I love that. Thank you. I feel like, okay, pressure's on.
No pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. We're just a couple of your fans.
Thank you.
Of course. So I guess let's kind of dive in and let's like get to know you, because our viewers, I'm sure, are super interested. I know I'm super interested and eager. So when did you start writing? Has this been something that you've done your entire life, or was this a recent journey for you?
I started writing when I was like 7 or 8. It started off as a bonding thing between me and my grandmother, because I had like all these stories in my brain and I just wanted to tell someone. My grandmother was like the first book girly that I ever knew. She had like the Bell bookcase that was floor to ceiling, wall to wall, like the book nook and everything. So I was like, that. I have stories. She likes stories. I'm going to tell her my stories. But of course, as a child, you pick the worst time to like tell a parent, I want to talk to you. She's like, I'm trying to pay bills. I got things to do. So my grandmother, she would hand me a piece of paper, like a notebook and a pen, and she'd tell me write it down. And I would write the stories down and we would read them together later, because I'm sure she could not understand what I was writing at that age. But it started off like that. And that's how it began. And then my grandmother, I guess she realized like, oh, you actually have some talent. So then she started encouraging me to like enter competitions at school and like really lean into it. So it started very young for me. My first published work was when I was 11. I won a young authors program in Chicago, and I got an award, and they like gave me a physical copy of the book, and I was like, I did it. And then from there, my grandmother took that book and she put it on her shelf, and I was like, I have to write books for my grandmother's shelf. Like that's the dream now. So it started very young. Yeah.
That's so sweet. I'm like cry. I'm tearing up here.
I love that. Oh, so what did you, when you were writing, was it like short stories, like fantasy, or were you doing more like realism? What genre do you think was what started you when you were younger?
When I was younger, I started with a lot of like mysteries and thrillers, because that's the stories that my grandmother she was into at that time. And then obviously I went through like adolescence, puberty, all of that happened. And I was like, oh, romance. And then I saw Lestat, and I saw, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go over there. So it was a nice little transition. And then like the sci-fi elements, like if you read my books, there's a lot of like sci-fi in there. Mm-hmm. That comes from my mother, because she was a sci-fi nerd. Like she was the blurred in the house, like for real. And we would do like sci-fi Saturdays and just watch a bunch of like crazy movies. Like she wasn't reading it as much, but she was watching it. So a lot of people tell me that like sometimes reading my books feel like watching a movie, and I think that comes from that influence.
We were literally talking about
laughing out loud. Like I'll be like laying in bed reading on my phone, and I'm just like giggling to myself because I'm like, it's so relatable.
No, seriously. You started off with the thrillers and mysteries, and then you moved into romance and then sci-fi and paranormal. That is such a wide variety of genres that you write, because I feel like so often writers get stuck in writing in the same genre. So I love that you kind of span very many genres. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't publish a lot of that stuff. People are asking like, when are you going to publish those things? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I've mostly published, sci-fi, fantasy, that nature. But I mean, I did have one book out that a couple of my readers found. I don't know how. Someone told me it was on eBay. Where it was a thriller. It was a woman who woke up on the side of the road and had to
Ooh.
figure out what happened to her, and finds out her sister got murdered. It was a big thing, right? So they're like, we
Wow.
need more of
I'm
that, and I'm like, how did y'all find that book? Like,
You're like, you're crazy, all of you.
I took that offline, but they're like, we need more of that. So I may publish more outside of the genre. I think going into this rom com vein was also like my first time like trying to step outside of my typical like darker fantasy. I love romantic comedy. Like every year, I'm like, I have my like the holiday, like that's
Yes.
on rotation,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
like, I want to pull that into my writing and just have a little fun because I feel like I've been making readers cry for a very long time. So it's like let's make them laugh a little bit. So luckily, people seem to be enjoying it.
You definitely did make Krista laugh, and you definitely made me laugh. In I accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend. I mean, just the title in itself, I feel like you should know exactly what you're about to get into. Where
Yeah.
I mean, it's so
Or
it's
like
it's
I didn't know what
hilarious.
I was getting into. I'm
Yeah.
like, is this a witchy drama? Is this what is this? And then I go in and the narrator is just like she just says the funniest things and I'm like, okay, not a drama.
Yeah, no,
It's so
Reina is
funny.
hilarious. Like she's just
Thank
it was
you.
so fun being in her brain because she was just so like I felt like I've known her my whole life. Like
Mhm.
I felt like she comes over to my house every Friday and Saturday and sits on the couch with me and we like talk shit and like drink
Yes.
I
wine.
love that.
Also, I need
Not too
Reina
much wine.
to come over. Yeah, not to, well, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I
If she drank a lot of wine and then a demon boyfriend came.
and
So
got a hot boyfriend, demon boyfriend out of it, so
Yeah.
maybe a lot of wine.
so so we've just kind of obviously like scratched the surface of it. Can you tell us a little bit about like what inspired you to write I accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend, because that is your most recent book that came out.
Yeah, yeah, it just came out in May. Like I said, for one, I wanted to stop making my readers cry. The last book I put out was a dark new world with a goddess who punished people who hurt the world she gave them, right? And
Right.
every reader would get to chapter 4 and I would get an email, a message like, how could you do this? Oh my God, And I'm like, I've been doing this for a while to readers, like in most of my books. So it's like maybe we can kind of switch it up. And I started on TikTok. I do this series called Stitch Writing Prompts, where I will stitch someone
Mm.
else's video and write a story based off of like that 5-second clip.
I
And
love
I did,
that.
yeah,
Sorry,
it's a
that's
way for me.
amazing.
Thank you. I just wanted, I wanted new ways to kind of introduce people to my style of writing and my process. Because everyone's like, how do you come up with all these stories? I'm like, that's how my brain works 24/7. Like, there's always stories. It's been that way my entire life. So I use that to like introduce people to like my voice as a writer.
Mhm.
Um, and there were a couple that I did that were like witch themes and like a demon here. And I did like a funny prompt instead of like a serious one. And everybody was like, oh, we need this. We give us more of this.
Give us
And
an
then I was
entire
like, you know
novel.
what? Yeah. And I went on Facebook, and Facebook, you know how they do those like memory posts, like, 3 years
Yes.
ago. Three
Mhm.
years ago that day, I had posted how I wanted to like bring more comedy into my writing. I had posted it like random post on Facebook, and then I never did it. Um, but seeing that little reminder of like me saying I want to put more comedy in my writing, and then having that stitch prompt kind of blow up at the same time, I was like, I'm doing this.
That was the sign.
Um,
Yes.
that was the sign. I really do think like the universe is like
Yeah,
sprinkling little messages. And I was like, you know
100%.
what?
100%.
I heard you. Let me get to writing, and yeah.
They're like, how much clearer can we be?
I
Other
try and
than
I try.
they were like the only other option is that we literally plop a demon into your living room.
I don't think my son would appreciate that.
Right.
Like, mom,
Right, because
fix it.
you are a mom as well. I learned that when I was reading your bio. Like I'm
Yeah.
also a mom, and I just think that's so cool that I love the quote that you said where you were like, well, I had never pursued my dreams. And then when I was pregnant with my son, I was like, how can I expect him to follow his dreams when I'm too scared to do my own? And I just
Yeah.
thought that was like quite literally one of the most profound things I've ever read, because like I'm going to get all emotional, because that is like, as a parent or as somebody that has, small children in their lives, like you want them to follow their dreams, but like you should also follow your own dreams. And I just thought that was beautiful. Sorry, I sidetrack.
Thank
I said
you.
a sidetrack, but I just love that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's kind of a part of the journey of, I come from a family that we don't really step outside of, our box. Like I didn't go to
Right.
school for writing because people was like, yeah, we poor, you need to make money, like go get a
Yeah.
business degree,
Hmm.
I didn't want to do that to my son. I wanted to be like, whatever it is, especially nowadays, you can make money, you can make a living doing pretty much anything. I mean, I know people
Hmm.
Yes.
who make bookmarks and they're like making seven
Yes.
figures a year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like you can do anything. But this is how has always been a part of me. And anytime I stop writing, I feel like something inside of me is just like crying, right? So it's like I need to do
Yes.
that. And I feel like that was my motivation for like pushing forward. But now it's just like it's become its own motivation, readers saying
Yes.
like, "Oh my god, I love that character." Like you said, it feels like she sits on my couch and we're like that
Yeah.
is amazing to me. So like putting that, I have a happy author jar. Here it is. Hold on. So like little quotes
Oh,
from readers and stuff like that I put in this jar, and then I
Oh,
can go on days where I'm like, oh, this sucks, I'm tired or whatever. I like shake one out and read it. So I'm putting that in here.
no.
I made a note for myself because
Oh,
that's
I'm
something
getting
that
all
will
I'm
keep me going.
crying.
Oh
No, no,
no,
no. I like, because I've never heard of anybody doing a jar like that. And I think I'm going to do that for myself, because it is hard, whenever you have those days where it's like, you're struggling with insecurity and, mental health and all of these things. And then you lose
yeah,
sight of like, there's so many people around you that you know and that you don't know that like love you for who you are. And I just love that. And I think I'm going to
yeah,
like, that's something I'm going to take into and do for myself, because
it's like
I
a
love
happy
that.
Gigi jar.
yeah,
Yeah. This
Yes.
whole like creator journey in general is just it's so lonely
Hmm.
sometimes and it's
yeah.
hard those days. So it's like having tools like that around you,
It's hard to
it's
get out of your own
insanely
head
it's helpful.
Yeah.
sometimes.
And to keep
Yeah.
pushing even when it's like
Hmm.
you don't have the energy, because for every it's so easy to come up with excuses to
Hmm.
to not follow through or to not push or to do anything. It's easier to create an excuse, be like, what, I'm actually just too tired for that. Sometimes you
Hmm.
Yeah,
just have to push through and dig in your jar and find a quote that makes you happy.
Hmm.
exactly.
So going back to accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend, the way you described, like we're going to talk about like the landscapes and everything and the world building, the way you described hell was so cool. I had like
Hmm.
never read anything or seen any visuals or anything of hell that made me be like, you know what, maybe
I want to
maybe
go there.
yeah.
Maybe
So
it's not so bad.
so can you give us like a little insight on like how, with like your character creation and your world building, like what are the creative processes that you do with those?
For one thing, I will say that my son says I am, I forgot what he called me, but he's like, I'm a seer of some sort. Like I look into other worlds, right? So I really just kind of sit in my office, set the vibe. I have like oil diffusers and like lo-fi music going on. And I just
Yes.
close my mind. I just close my eyes and sit here. And the world just kind of opens up. It seems very like woo-woo, but that's how it works
No
for me. And
judgment,
the
no
picture
judgment.
just comes out and I'm literally with my eyes closed, I'm typing because, of course, I know how to type without looking at the
Yes.
keys at this point. But I'm just typing what I see, right? And then I structure that and I put it in my Word document and then I tweak it for like, so it makes sense to other people.
Right.
Hmm.
But it's all just, I don't know, it's my imagination. I've been really um, lucky to have like the full picture imagination. I know like some people close their eyes and they see nothing. I
Yes.
see everything, the entire world. I am. So it's just it's all up here, so to speak. The Bane is a place that crosses a lot of my other novels as well.
Okay.
That's the same hellscape that they go in and out of in other books. So it's been building for a long time, and I see
Cool.
it as like a world in its own. Like Matisse is on this side of the world, and the Jinn people are on that side. Like, and we're
Yes.
just exploring this other world throughout these other books. But I've always just thought like I know that we have our image of what hell looks like, but to me, I was like, what if it's not that? What if it's like just another world that's kind of misunderstood because
Yeah.
the
No,
people
straight
don't, you
up.
know? Um, so yeah, it was fun building it. And then my favorite part about the Bane is that like the recycling part of the world, like there's no trash. Like when
Yes.
Rain is like, I hope you're not throwing all this stuff out, and he's like, that don't happen here,
He's
baby.
like,
Like
"What are
we
you
don't have
talking
pollution.
about? You weird
Yeah.
human."
This isn't Earth. So stuff like that. It's kind of like even though it's the hellscape, it's like in part like my perfect world that's just kind of misunderstood by
Yeah.
visitors, if that makes sense.
No, I love that. That's super cool.
Keeping with I accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend. What was your inspiration for Reina? Like where did that character come from? Because I loved her. I felt like she was like she became my little bestie, like Gigi said earlier, that she would come over every Friday and just start talking shit about Matisse or whatever.
Yeah, Raina is 90s Midwestern girl coded. Like she's me and my friends. She's all the conversations that I've had over the years about dating and life. And I have a lot of friends. Well, I won't say a lot. I have a few friends, but they're all very successful in their own right. We're all out here living our dreams and having these successful careers and then turning around like, the dream that was sold to us was like Aladdin and Jasmine and the Disney, you get your man, you get married, that was the dream,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we're
Yes.
all just kind of realizing, like, I don't think that's my dream, but like I want parts of that dream. I don't want that to be
Yes.
the full thing, but I do want some of that. And so Raina is the product of those conversations over. I'm not gonna say how old I am. So many years. Um, but yeah,
You don't look a
she's
day over
I
21.
No, seriously.
Oh, thank you. I tell my son, who calls me old every day. Um,
Oh,
I
well,
feel
but
kids
no,
that.
keep us
it's just
humble, so
they do, they do. He's like, Mom, do you see those grays? You're old. No. But yeah, I just wanted her to feel like a friend. I wanted it to feel
Yes.
like, I wanted it to feel like you sat down, picked up the phone, and your homegirl is like spilling tea. You know what I mean? That's what this book was supposed to feel like, and I think that's what we accomplished with it. So,
You succeeded at like you
thank you.
succeeded in doing that because that's
yes.
100%. Krista and I were actually saying how whenever we first started the book, whenever we were going to Colossal Con, we were saying how fun Reina is, especially being told in first person because there's, other book series that we've read where the first person narrator is just so bland. And
Mm-hmm.
Reina is quite literally the opposite of that because
Far from it.
she is
Like the
so
second I
fun.
saw the title Booty Juice, I just
Yes.
knew it. I just knew that the protagonist was going to be so likable.
Yeah, and you know what? It's something too about like Raina being more mature. You know what I mean? She's a lot more settled in
Yes.
who she is, and her
Yes.
voice had to match that. I didn't want to write it and be like, "Oh yeah, she's 30 something years old," and then she sounds like a 12-year-old the whole book. Like
Right.
she needs to be like. So I had to take some time and like really um develop her character because a lot of the characters I've written have been like 20 something, and I was like, I'm kind of tired.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not 20 something no more. I'm tired of writing
Yeah.
about y'all. So
Your
I
time's
was like, let's
over.
develop. Yeah, I was like, let's develop her voice a little bit
Mm-hmm.
stronger.
Hmm.
And I wanted her to be a lot more sure of herself as a
Yeah.
person.
Mm-hmm.
Like she does have, some issues with like mental health and whatever, but that was
Hmm.
also important to me because a lot of us struggle with that. So it's like I wanted her to be multifaceted, and I wanted her to just like you said, not be bland. Like let's put the layers in there and really like explore her voice as a person.
I loved her. She was
Yes.
amazing. I loved all the characters. They were all so great.
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air to read about a protagonist that's more mature and has these more rational thoughts, I guess you could say, and isn't,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, because like you said,
So,
there are so many like 20 somethings that are the main
hmm
characters, or like a 19-year-old. And I'm just like, hey, I'm a 32-year-old woman. I would love for there to be somebody that has like a fully developed full like frontal
Yeah.
lobe
yes,
like as the main character.
yes,
Yeah,
and
and who
she was,
worries about like bills and things like
Yes.
like, I got
yes.
clients, I got bills to pay, and
Yes,
my
and I
mortgage
saw a
is
lot of
due.
myself in Reina because like
Yes.
I'm not quite 30 yet, but I am reaching there and I am single and but I am my own like woman. I have my own job, my own money, my own place. Like
Yeah,
I'm good, but like I could relate to the whole being single this far in your life thing. And I was like, dang,
yeah,
she gets it. She gets it. So thank you
yeah.
for writing such a relatable character. She's great.
Yes.
I'm glad that she's relatable. Like that's the thing. Like I was so nervous about putting this book out, not only because like the tone of it is different, like it's a different subgenre of fantasy for me, but also because it's like I'm representing a different character, like a different audience in this book. And it's like, I hope that they feel like I did them justice. I am a 30
Yes.
somethings, single woman. So I get it. But I do understand that my experience is not like across the board for everyone. So I didn't want to just like harp on my own things, but actually I was like listening to a couple podcasts about women and how they're feeling and trying to expand my view so that Raina wasn't just like a carbon copy of myself. And I'm just like,
Right.
men suck, like so I tried to make sure that she could, potentially represent more than just myself and like my couple of friends.
So, and as you were talking, I see a bunch of the like similarities between you and Reina, just
Yes.
because like your
Yes.
personality is very much feels like Reina, and then like the way she like builds things, because she has that thing where she like has a big imagination, and she like sees all these different worlds and stuff, and I was like, oh, that okay, so she's just
Yeah.
Reina.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, whenever you were
She's my
describing
diary. Like,
when you when you
Since
were
you published your whole
describing that, I
diary.
was like, "Oh, so this is literally Raina with her psychic powers."
That's
Okay. So
exactly
like
what I was
you're
thinking.
literally traveling everywhere right now.
And
me
I
not
love.
drawing that connection is hilarious. Wait, you're right. Like,
Oh, if you could just unpack something.
So you just need to
note for my
cosplay Raina
therapist.
now. Like I
Yes, just
just want to
cosplay
you
Reina.
know,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I think about doing that for next year when I have a few events where I'll be like in person, and I do
Yes.
think about like getting her dressed, and showing
Yes,
up as
Yes.
Raina.
Yes.
Yeah.
please.
I think
We
that
will
would be
be
I'm
cool.
there. It doesn't matter
yes.
where you are. We will be
No,
there
seriously. You
Oh,
post and we'll be
to see
there.
that.
Straight up.
oh, that,
I will dress up like Matisse.
bring it on. I will let you know. Wait, how much can I say on this? Is it
You can
like
say whatever you
Anything.
want.
okay? So there's another person who does interviews with dildos, and she literally comes up with a dildo, and she's like, "I'm searching for a Matisse dildo so I can interview you next year." And I was like, "Okay."
Oh my gosh.
I don't
Yes.
know how I'm
So
gonna
it
take it, and she's
but it
like,
just
"This is
needs to
it."
rotate. It just needs to
Just
rotate.
a rotating
Rotation,
one.
a few nodules,
Yeah.
and you got it. Maybe some pump action for the expansion,
Yes. But
Please.
then they also need to be feeding you steak during like throughout the
Like they
interview.
have
Mhm.
the microphone and they have a plate of steak and they're like,
And they're
Yeah.
just
here.
feeding you like little cubes of steak and saying good girl and
I wouldn't make it through that interview at all.
man, I feel like we really like missed an opportunity to just have steak in this in
And
the
dildo microphones.
seriously, man. Next time.
Next time.
Next
We'll have you on
time.
Whenever
next time. We'll have
yes.
that. Oh. But anyway, I love that this book has majority like POC characters. And as a Black author, how do you feel about the importance of like diversity and representation in this, not just this genre, but like in books in general?
I mean, it's the whole reason. I wouldn't say it's the whole reason, but like it's a very important part of why I do what I do is because I grew up reading and loving and watching these things on TV. And I grew up in Chicago, which is like a very diverse place, and then you can
Right.
go and see all types of culture. And then I would come home and I would pick up a book or I'd turn on something on TV, and it just did not match what I was seeing.
Yes.
And I talked about this on a recent panel where they were like, what's the like, is it important that it's like, what makes it, a diverse written, story? Excuse me. And a lot of people on the panel was like, oh, it's an own voice thing. It just, if I'm Black and I wrote it, it's a Black story. But I'm like, no, for me, it's I'm Black, I wrote it, it has Black people in it, it has Black people on the cover, and not just Black, but POC, because I do, my main characters tend to be Black, but I do incorporate and include other POC characters as well as other people of just like LGBTQ. I like to
Yes.
explore disabilities and all that, because I feel like there's so many of us who just have never seen ourselves in this situation. I had a few readers, like, I did not know so many people were diagnosed with the same thing that Raina was with her mental illness. And I've had at least 10 people since this book came out reach out to me like, how did you know about this? Like, no one knows that this is a thing. And I was like, I had to diagnose Raina. I didn't know what was wrong with her. I didn't go out and pick a illness and give it to her. I was just like, something ain't right. Let me figure it out. And I started
Yeah.
researching, and I was like, I think this is what she has. So having characters who are diverse and not just skin tone or culture, but just like their walk of life, the
Yes.
things that they deal with on it and internally, I think is so important because it gives voice and it gives representation to all of the people who have for years had to kind of do like what I call mental gymnastics to like see themselves in the story. Like, I don't know how many olive skin tone girls I read about, and I was like, Olive, she kind of green, but she comes, she could be Black. She like a
Yeah.
real light skin Black. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, she said her hair was curly. Maybe she meant coily. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to have to do that to see
Yeah.
themselves in my work. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so refreshing to see more and more stories now coming out across genres that are giving voice to those characters.
I love that. And I told myself, because I am a Latina, and I want to read more POC stories. And so like we started looking into this book, I was like, oh, heck yes. Heck yes. Give me more
Yes.
POC. In your
I will
opinion,
say
like how
Natalia Hernandez. Check her. I don't know if you've
Natalia
read her
Hernandez?
work.
I
Oh,
am
I'm writing
making a
that
Yes.
note of
down.
this right
Yes.
now.
Putting that in
she
my notes.
fantasy writing, and it's like I feel like, oh, I'm not her writing makes me feel like I'm not eavesdropping, but it's like I'm not from the culture, but I understand it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
welcoming. Sometimes I'm like, I need to talk. I need to look up a dictionary or something. I don't feel like that when I read her writing. It's so like,
Yeah.
it's like a hug, and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I'm part of this family. All right, thank
Oh,
you.
Because
And
like
then I
a
go
lot of
home
the
to Raina.
yeah, to Reina, and because like a lot of the times like these like big authors like they try to be diverse, but then it ends up becoming more of like a stereotype of that
hmm
culture, and
Yeah,
you're just like, oh, okay, you know.
yeah.
And
yeah,
so
Or
discovering
it's
these
like,
authors that are very authentic with their
yes,
writing of POC stories, it's very refreshing to see.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes. I know. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of your books and more of the
Mm-hmm.
of I'm gonna look up Natalia Hernandez because
Yes.
yes, 100%.
Yes, please
Always
do.
gonna support 100%.
I will say, going from Raina's story to anything from our back catalog, different vibe.
No,
Free tissues,
I'm excited about the gin book. The gin.
Oh,
Look,
yeah, yeah.
I was on Goodreads whenever I started reading, and so I added accidentally summoned a demon boyfriend, and then I was like, oh well, like let me go look at Jessica's like author page, and I was like, oh, she has so many books, she has so many books. I was so excited, so I was like, okay, now I know what I'm going to be reading for like the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
My
God, I
TBR
love
just got longer. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I love that. When people bring up Jen, I get so like the kid inside me gets giddy because that story has been with me since I first watched Aladdin. I used to wonder like what happened to the genie from that story. And so that book is my answer to that question. And that's also where we first get introduced to the Bane. So you
Oh,
get to
okay. So
see
so
more of the hellscape through his
so
story.
Oh.
if you had to choose like a reading order of your books, what would be
Hmm.
like the first book that you think people should start with? Like you don't have to go through like all of your books, but what do you think should be like the first book that you start with and then like the last book?
You know, people always ask me this, and I say start with the newest because I wrote it better than anything else, and then you'll love my writing, and then you won't care
Then
so
you'll read
much about
everything
the
else.
Well,
yeah.
perfect. We're doing it right.
You know,
Perfect.
no, but honestly, I think from there's like a spicy path and then there's a
Mhm.
clean path because not all of my books are clean, right? I mean, are spicy, right? So if you're taking the spicy path from the Demon Boyfriend, you would go into Siren series,
Okay.
and from the
I
Siren
saw
series, you
that
would go into the
series.
alphas. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the spicy path, and those connect as well through
Cool.
different things. There's
Oh my
like
gosh.
Easter eggs throughout
I am
all of my
so
books, right?
excited. I love that.
Yeah, so in the siren is like, oh, that guy's from that book. Oh, that's what he saw. And I love when readers like put the pieces together. And
Yes.
it's crazy because the first 6 years of writing, I did not know that was happening until readers start pointing it out. And I was like, oh, that's right, and then it became an intentional thing. So I would say if you're on the spicy path, from there you go there. If you're on the clean path, I would say from if you want the bang, go into the Gen Rebellion series, and then from Gen Rebellion series, I would say go into Tales of Novia. So
Cool.
yeah, I would say
Okay.
that's
Well,
the
I'm
path.
gonna read
Yeah.
all of
Let's do
them.
like a
So
like one of us will journey down the clean, the other down spicy, and we'll like meet in the middle,
Meet up. Yeah.
wave at each other, and then we'll go and circle
and then
back.
dive into the other.
Yeah, exactly. We're about to really go ham in the Jessica Cage verse.
Oh,
No,
I
but
love
really,
it.
but really. And I'm gonna cosplay every single character.
Every single one.
I love it. Someone cosplayed Serenata, like got the custom tail made and everything. And it was like, I was speechless. I'm like watching videos of my characters literally in the ocean swimming around with
Yeah.
an actual tail. I was like,
I
this
always
is
wonder
insane.
how authors feel about that, like seeing their art come off the page and into a cosplay. Like, how does that make you feel? I know you just said it, but like, how does that really like make you feel? Like,
Honestly, it's one of those like author dreams that you don't realize you had until it
hmm
happens. And it's like the fact that anyone cared enough or was connected enough to a character that I made up in my brain to actually go out and spend money, like hard earned money to like build a costume. I it blows me away every time. It's happened a few times with my characters from my first series I put out. It's not published right now, but it's the High Arc Vampires. I had a couple of girls, they were younger, come dressed as Alexa, and I was like, this
oh,
is a dream come true, right? So it's like when it happens, it's like I didn't realize that was something that I wanted to happen, and now it's like I want that to happen every time I put a book. Like everyone dress up
No,
as my characters.
straight
Do
up. Like
it.
that's because that has to be a surreal feeling. Like I mean, where you're like, oh,
It
okay,
is.
whoa.
Cause I was like, you pay for a custom tell. When I saw the pictures in the initial video, I had the stone that the character like wears on the cover because we did like a whole photo shoot at one point for it. I just sent her the stone because I was like, you need it for your costume, like obviously.
Oh,
So now she has the stone that she can wear when she actively does that. Like that's her job as a mermaid. So sometimes she just goes out as Serenata, and it's like
that's so
insane.
cool.
I love that.
That is so
Oh my
Yeah.
cool.
gosh.
I'm like, one day I'll have a party for the book, like maybe when it hits like an anniversary or something, and then I'll invite her out and
Yes.
people can like
Yes, take
meet
pictures with
Serenata.
her. I just
Yeah,
got
That would be
yeah,
chills.
amazing.
Yes.
yeah. I think
Yes.
that would be so fun. Yeah.
Like in the same vein, but like also not really. So obviously you've been writing for quite some time. Do you have any words of advice for aspiring authors? So maybe people that want to get into writing or they have already written things and they're like too nervous to post it. Do you have any words of aspiration for them?
I get asked this question so often, and I always say that the most important thing is one, prioritizing your mental and emotional health because again,
Yes.
this is a tough thing to do. and understand that you're not the only person feeling the way you feel through this journey. Like we are all going through it. But two, you need a community of people who are experiencing what you're experiencing. So like get into these writers groups and talk to other people,
Mhm.
because I think that for the first few years of writing, it was just me and like my family. Like I would talk to them and they were like, I don't know what the heck. Like, you got it, girl. But like that was pretty much all they could say, right? They couldn't give me any like sound advice or like encouragement
Right.
from a point of I'm also experiencing this and this is like realistic advice to give you. So having a community that surrounds you, that will encourage you and that will be real with you, like I have people now, like when I'm like, I don't feel like it, I'm just such a, they're like, girl, if you don't get your butt up and get in there and write them story, you know, you need people who are going to like, you know, be
Yes.
writing us, so to speak, right? But also this is very generic, but stop comparing yourself to other authors and creators. A lot of people, I had to set the record straight because people are like, Jessica's always on TikTok live and she just, you know, be on there 24 hours. I'm like, how would I write books? Like, you guys see me go live once. Don't do that to yourself, because then I have people who follow me trying, I got to be on live more. I'm on live an hour a day.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like, you know what I mean? So don't sit there and compare yourself, not understanding someone else's journey or how they got to where they are. Focus on your journey and doing it the way that works for you, because it's not gonna work. Everything that works for me won't work for you. Even if you write the same type of material, even you know, you could try verbatim and I could get, you know, 100,000, you know, post views on a post and you get three. It doesn't matter that stuff as long as you're being authentic to yourself, and again focusing on building a community that's going to support you. I think that's the biggest thing that I could ever. I mean, there's so much advice about how to write and when to write and doing all that other stuff, but I feel like
Yes.
we forget to like encourage people to enter this with self at the forefront. Like, take care of yourself through this process and surround yourself with people who will encourage you when you need it and who will kick you in the butt when you need it as well. You know what I mean? Like, you can
Yes.
have a hug right now. I know that you're sad. Okay, now get out there. You know what I mean? That's the type of
Mhm.
people you need. No yes men, because my first couple of books would have been a lot better if I had people like that back in the day. That's why I took them down. Like, okay, no one needs to ever read these again.
Do you have any any plans for the future? Like what can readers expect from you in the future? Do you have upcoming projects or series that you're working on?
Yeah, so I just announced a few days ago the title, maybe a week ago, I don't know. The next book is I Accidentally Hooked Up with a Vampire.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
going to, yeah.
So excited for
I'm
that.
I'm staying in this like rom-com vein, and I know everyone's like, we need more Raina and Matisse. I'm like, I'm so sorry to tell you, I don't know them people no more. We
They're
are
traveling, they're traveling worlds
They're
right now.
living their best life.
right.
We don't need them anymore.
Raina is not checking in with me no more, girl. She's like, thank you for the rotating pin. I'm out. Um, so the books are going to be, so far there are more than one planned, but it's going to be all connected, and the characters themselves don't know each other, but there is a thing that's happening throughout the
Cool.
collection that is connecting them all together. And I want it to be written as if you can read them in any order and still understand how they relate to each other. So
Oh, I
Oh,
love that.
that is so exciting. I am so
yeah.
excited. Like I for sure
100%.
like I know Krista and I have been like so excited to speak with you because we both just had such a blast reading. I look forward to
Yes.
reading so many more of your books.
Yeah.
Like seriously,
Yes.
my TBR list just like quadrupled in size.
Yeah. But
Okay,
we're
so
gonna
I
just
have a question.
go for
Yeah.
it.
I need to
Oh
start
my
asking
gosh.
people this. What what is the most impactful, not even impactful. What was the scene you had the most fun reading?
I mean honestly the steak scene. That was
The
just
steak
so
scene for you.
I loved the steak scene. I
Okay,
Yeah.
the
loved
steak
that if
scene.
I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
It was just like
I,
so unique.
yeah. I liked the first like sex scene because she was
Oh
just
yeah.
going at it. Like she was like no inhibition. She's like, I'm gonna take this man by the horns and I'm gonna go at him. And then not just that, but like the like several pages following it where she's like, that was a dream. That was a dream.
Yeah.
I didn't just whip my towel around like I was a
Hold on to
cowgirl or
his
something.
cords.
That was one of the scenes that made me laugh so hard when she thought about the fact that she literally rode him like a horse and like,
Like
turning her
rodeo
towel
star.
like a rodeo. Like that was it. But then so that's like the more like funny stuff. But one of like the sweetest scenes was when he finally was like he visited her after like the 4 months and finally like admitted that he missed her, and we
Yes.
finally like we find out like that they're soulmate, like we kind of knew they were soulmates, they kind of said it, but like he actually like admitted it, and we because he's a demon, he doesn't really have these human feelings, but
Yeah.
being that vulnerable with Reina, I was like I was actually crying.
No,
I
she
immediately
texted me.
texted Gigi and I was like, not this author, making me laugh. And then like 5 seconds later, I'm like sobbing in bed because this man just confessed that he missed her, and like as much love as a demon can give. Like
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
that was one of the sweeter moments that really stuck with me because
Yes, a sweet moment that stuck with me was whenever they were having like the marriage bond and all like the golden strands were like coming out of their chest. I just thought that was so beautiful. Like I could literally envision that whole scene. It was so beautifully written, and that and then like the warmth and everything, like I loved that. I loved that so much. I was like I wish my iPad I wasn't locked out of my iPad because I would draw that if I could.
Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay, no, because sometimes we get invited to events and they're like, read a scene, and I'm like, I don't know a scene to read. So now I'm actually taking the scenes that people who have read the book said,
Yes.
and I'm like, I have a
Yes.
copy that travels with me, and I'm just putting flags in it, and then I'll just pick a random flag and read that, and that just makes
Yeah.
it easier.
Yes. Those
But
two
I love
scenes
that.
were
So many
beautiful.
people did not like that steak scene. They were like, at food and sex
I
gross, and I was
thought
like,
I
girl.
loved it. I loved it.
What?
I I'm gonna be real.
I'm
After I
offended
read
for
it,
you.
you know what? Okay, so Krista and I meal prepped this week,
Oh my god.
because we have like meal plans. Do you want to know what we got for our meal prep? We got sirloin steaks because we were like, why did we think to do that? Because it was in the back of our
It was
minds.
in the back
That's
of our
why.
heads.
That's
I
And
love
then
it.
it.
we were like cutting it, like I didn't realize it when it was happening, but now that I'm thinking about it, we even cut it up into nice
Little
little cubes
cubes.
too.
Yeah. I'm telling we were subconsciously.
It's been
Subconsciously
there.
wanting that scene.
It's a good scene. Yeah, I liked it.
I liked it. And the people that hated it, whatever.
I
I
think
Yeah.
thought I
people have
loved
different
it.
triggers though. Like a lot of people don't like food with sex, and that's fine. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I didn't put a
Yeah.
trigger warning because I didn't think that people would be that triggered by
Well, you're
it.
like,
So,
well, okay.
You don't think it would be a triggering thing. I was like, oh
yeah,
It's
yeah,
no.
no, not at all.
steak. I'm like, I
Yeah,
didn't
it's either
Like,
that, and then now I have people running up to me at events screaming out "booty juice."
Yeah.
Um, you're the booty juice author, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what I signed up for.
You should just
It can
get
be
that
taken a
like
lot of different ways.
embroidered on a shirt.
yeah,
Booty
just booty
juice
juice.
author.
Yes, I'm the booty juice author.
I feel like
A
you
nice
could
picture.
like sell that as merch. Like just like booty
Yes.
juice. Like get like
Author, just
somebody
booty juice.
People have asked for that. Readers are like, so when are we getting booty juice merch? They want booty juice merch and they want Pico merch. So
I was about to
we'll
say
see how
any
that
scene with
happens.
Pico. Any
And
scene
that
with
was
Pico.
another scene that I was just laughing out loud because she's in this high stress situation running from these demons, and then this little dog is like, oh, like come this way, I'm gonna protect you, and then turns around and just farts a rainbow,
Yes.
a rainbow gas, and I was like, what?
No, that was hilarious.
I could not stop laughing. Yes.
Yes,
So we
Pico.
had custom candles made that smells like Pico's
I
poop.
love
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Drop
no,
the
and then
link, girl. Send the link.
I love like Pico having his like beast form. So
Yes.
cool. That was
Yeah.
so like I love Pico. I need like a Pico plushie.
I need a Pico plushie
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
So
we
maybe I'll
have
cosplay
Pico
Pico.
stickers. We have Pico stuff is coming because they love Pico.
Yay!
So yeah, we're gonna have more Pico things. My
Heck
my
yes.
brother actually, my brother's a digital artist and he does like a lot of my like character art and stuff like that. So he actually
Cool.
drew or digitally drew Pico for me, and he's working on some Reina and Pico art. So we'll have more
Yes.
like stuff.
I
I did
need
not
it.
think that people were gonna be so connected to Pico. They like Pico. They like
Yeah.
that's their nephew in the cage. My readers call themselves
Yeah.
the Cage Collective. So they're like, that's our nephew, that's our pet for the Cage Collective. So we're
Yes.
doing some Pico stuff
Yes.
for them
The
now.
the Pico
Yeah.
stands are out here. We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was Reina when she left Pico with Matisse. I was like, he better watch that sweet
Yeah.
little dog thing.
Yes.
You better take good care of
when he
him.
brings Pico to visit her on Earth, like
Yes.
that was one of my favorites. He's like going crazy, tearing up the house.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts, like any final words that you want to bestow upon the people that are watching this interview?
I don't want to be cliche, but honestly, just lean into your dreams. Like that has been the best thing that I've done for myself in a very long time. Um, if it wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't for my son, I wouldn't be here, but I definitely wouldn't be like specifically where I am right now. And don't be afraid to change your voice. That was my fear with this. Like I'm stepping into a new tone, a new voice with my writing. And now it has gone so far past what I imagined. Like bestsellers, it won its first award this week.
I saw
And
that
now I have
announcement.
yeah, you know what?
Congratulations.
It's so interesting because when I released Siren's Call, that was a book I released in 2014. It was like, this is a new voice. This is a new, style of writing for me. I'm developing. Hopefully people write it or like it. It was my first book to do bestseller. It was the first book I got that I published myself that won an award. I mean, that was the thing. And then I had the same kind of moment with Raina and Matisse. And I'm like, okay, this is new. Let's see what happens. And it has surpassed every other book in terms of sales, in terms of reviews, in terms of like everything. It's just like, what? And now, of course,
Yay.
have people in my ear with new opportunities, and it's just opening up so many doors for me. So just don't be afraid to like step outside of your comfort zone and really go for whatever that thing is that's inside of you. That's like the universe is dropping all these signs in front of you to do it. Just lean into it and give it your all. And I think it will turn out just amazing.
Yes.
That
Oh,
was
wait,
beautiful.
I just realized that there was one question I forgot to ask, and it's quite literally the most important question that we ask on this show. If you were a Girl Scout cookie, which cookie would you be, Jessica?
Oh my goodness.
It's very
Hmm.
important, very
It
telling.
is.
What Girl Scout cookie would I be? I don't know. That's a good question. I stopped eating Girl Scout cookies a long time ago. Um, wait, can I Google? Hold on. I need to get the names.
100%. You take
Take your
as long
time.
Okay.
time.
I'm
Take as
going to
long as you
Google
need, girl.
this because I think I know it. I don't think that's the right name. All right. Oh, I got a nice little graphic. This is nice. Trefoils. That's the
Oh my
one.
god, wait,
I
that's
like
what
I
I am.
trefoils. That's my
love
favorite.
trefoils.
That's the cookie I am, and nobody ever says trefoils.
That's my favorite Girl Scout
Mine
cookie.
too.
I always want to call it a butter cookie because that's like the
That's what
similar,
it is. Yeah, it's
like,
just a butter
yeah,
cookie.
but yeah.
That's because it goes well with like everything. Like it's
Everything.
like
You can eat it with
I
everything.
eat it for breakfast sometimes, like with my
Get a
coffee.
nice little coffee or tea. Yeah, it's a
Exactly.
good
It's
snack.
so
Yeah.
versatile. Oh my gosh.
And see, I'm
Yay!
like y'all, but with a little bit of sweetness because I like the thanks a lot. So it's like the trefoil cookie with the chocolate underneath it. So I'm there with y'all.
Oh,
I'm there with
nice.
y'all.
Okay.
Yes, you get it. You
I
get
just
it.
like
I
that
have
little
a
extra
chocolate
chocolate.
allergy, so I can't eat too
Really?
much chocolate. Yeah.
Oh
I still
Wow.
I still eat milk chocolate with a Benadryl, and my doctor's like, you have to stop doing that.
no!
And he's like, one day it's not gonna work, and I was like, well, that's the day I'll stop doing it. So Until then, I'll have my kiss with a side of Benadryl. So,
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's
Oh
amazing.
wow.
Well, Jessica, we won't take up any more of your time. I absolutely loved getting to know you, getting
Mm-hmm.
to hear about your creativity and your just, I mean, your history, really. And like, really, thank you so much for being the very first author that we've ever had on the show. We
It really set
cannot
a
thank
bar
you
here.
enough.
It was
Seriously,
truly an amazing
bar,
experience up
yes.
here.
thank
Yes. So
you.
thank you
Yes.
so much for just being so kind, so gracious, so fun. Like you're so awesome. So where can our viewers find you on your various social media platforms?
Well, first, thank you for having me. This was so much fun. Glad I represented the author community well. You can find me at my website, jessicacage.com, or at jcageauthor on all platforms. I try to make it easy to find me. So the
Yes.
letter
Yes.
J, my last name Cage, and then author.
Good deal. So go follow Jessica on all platforms. Go buy her books. I know I'm going to. And yes, so we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.